shot a man in El Paso, flew across that Rio Grande. I ended up in Juarez in the Mexican outlaw band. I met a Mexican lady down at the watering hole. She said her name was Juanita, she belonged to Mexican Joe. Was the fastest gun in town, at least that's what they said. For the love of that Mexican woman, I'd surely kill him dead. She spent the night in my motel room, we shared that heated night. I knew I was doing wrong, it felt so right. You can't hide in Mexico. Gotta fight or die in Mexico. In the morning, Joe came looking, that beauty with deep brown eyes. When he came a knocking at my door, Lord, I told him we're alive. The smell of her sweet skin came pouring out of the room. He curled his lip as he remembered the smell of her perfume. I could tell he didn't believe me, not one word that I said. For my lips were stained with a faded shade of red. Said, you're the one that stole my love, let me tell you how it's gonna be. You better be ready to fight and die the next time you see me. You can't hide in Mexico. Gotta fight or die in Mexico. Well, I met him in front of Slim on a dirty, dusty street, and I could feel the sweat rolling down my neck as the dust blew across my feet as that clock struck high noon. I seen a gleam come across his eye, and I knew this had come the time where I may surely die. We pulled his hand across his hip, gave one last sigh, and he drew his gun a little too slow, and I shot him between the eyes. You can't hide in Mexico. Gotta fight or die in Mexico. You can't hide in Mexico. He had to die in Mexico.